Hi everybody, my name is Rachel, and this week, as I mentioned in my last blog post, iPad sketching apps, I wanted to see what I would prefer, traditional sketching or digital sketching. My tutorial is based off of the free app, SketchBook Mobile X. I did all of what you're about to see on my iPod, something I would definitely not recommend. Having a bigger screen would be to your benefit. The writing drawing tools are located near the top. I will go in a clockwise formation. The pencil at the top center, then the airbrush, and then the paintbrush. These are your drawing tools. Then following the airbrush is your eraser, and after the eraser is the paint bucket with the blue square. Then you will have a layer option with what looks like 3 pages. This gives you access to place another sketch on top of another. Your color wheel is right above that. This allows you to change your colors and not just have a black and white color option. Last of all on this palette is the squiggly lines with a dotted line in the middle. This helps mirror something so it looks identical to the other side and also saves you quite a bit of time. So let's begin. Okay, so I'm going to start with this white screen that we started out from when we opened the app as well. And what I enjoy doing on a sketchbook is drawing faces, so I decided why not. So I'm going to give that a try. And so now I'm doing a rough outline, and as you can see, it's not exactly the way I wanted it to do. So then I kind of moved forward to more lines, and that kind of made it a darker, harder, harsher lines, and that's not what you would like in a face. And so I kind of use the eraser to give me more of a line, and this is me still experimenting, so bear with. I did forget to take snapshots on my iPod when I did my eyes, the eyebrows, and the mouth. So just to give you a filler in is that for the eyes, I actually used the squiggly line so I can have them identical. I, however, did not use that for my eyebrows, which was a little harder because they had to be identical. And then the mouth I just drew. So now for the nose, this is what I usually do in traditional sketching. I obviously the dotted lines, and then I made it really black, so then I kind of went back to the options and I just completely erased it and just kept the bottom part because the lines were not to my liking. Here's just a rough outline. It's not normally what I do for faces, but with it being withdrawing all my finger, it's okay. It's not what I like, but so I'm gonna start adding the hair to the girl, giving it more shape. And this is the pencil that I'm using. It's on the biggest setting that it can, or thickness that it can go on. And so I'm just scribbling it in. I'm not doing anything fancy stroke wise. So that's kind of a rough outline right there. Obviously the eyes need to be brought down a lot, so I'm erasing it, and then I forgot to take snapshots again to show you the mirrored effect from the squiggly line button. I did it both on the eyebrow so it's perfectly even, and then the eyes as well, so that helps a lot. And so that's an estimate. That's just a general view of what it looks like, and I'm gonna go zoom into the eye, and I'm going to start adding some eyelashes. That's also just a side note that's really helpful on this, is that you can zoom in more to give detail. Some of the other free apps that I looked at, you can't even zoom in to give detail, so that's one thing that I do enjoy about this. So still adding detail. I made the eyelid really dark, and so I completely toned it down with the airbrush to a lighter gray. And what I turned out doing was including the mirrored effect for the eyelid. So as you can see, as I pull it out, that both of them are even. However, I tried to pan in again and I made mess ups. And the best part about this is that you can click undo. Obviously in real life you can't do that. If you like slide your pencil, you have to erase it without trying to smudge everything. So the part that I didn't like, her eyelids were so dark and I didn't like that at all, and the white was really hard to blend with, so I completely made her face like a whole shade darker so I can blend it more. So then I panned back into her eye and added more dimension to the top of her eyelid. And then I did not use a mirrored effect on this one, and I did the same thing on the other eye. So then I'm pulling out from the eyes, focusing on something else, and going into the nostril. I needed to enhance everything that I covered up with that light gray so it wouldn't all disappear. As you can see, I'm panning into her lips, and I really am not a fan of them, and it has this like really harsh line to it, and that's from the pencil. So I completely erased it to the gray color. I just airbrushed it with a gray color. And so that's what she looks like without lips. So I'm experimenting with the lips and seeing what I like better. And now this is with a paint brush, so I don't have that harsher line. And then I filled it in with a paintbrush still. Not on a black, it's like a mid-gray kind of tone. And forgot to screenshot again. This is where I included some pencil and an airbrush to the bottom lip and added a little bit of red on the airbrush. So I really like how her bottom lip is turning out. Her top lip is really struggling for me right now, especially because I'm using only my fingers at the moment. So I didn't like the top lip, so I completely erased it, and now she has a white mustache. So I zoomed in even more because I really needed to get the lip down. And so I wanted to make it smaller, add some red to it so it brings from the bottom to the top. And so I'm kind of satisfied with that, not entirely, but so settled for that, covered the white mustache with an airbrush of the gray, and now we're moving on to the eyebrow. I'm still using my finger, and I'm not using the squiggly line mirrored effect, so it doesn't all have to be perfect. And that's the part about art, is that you can experiment and have fun with it. So I'm doing her eyebrow on the right side, and this was an easy one, but when I moved to the left one, it was really a lot harder, especially with my fingertip. When later on I started using a pen, but this one you can see that there's a white line in there, so I actually took an airbrush and kind of got blended that all together so I wouldn't have to get that white. And then to cover up some of that white that I didn't want, I actually use this sign. You hold it down and it actually matches the color of the skin tone that I'm using. So that was really helpful, and it automatically went to that. And when I tried to pan out, I actually double tapped the top left corner and actually erased the entire thing. So that is a helpful thing with the redo button to get me back to where I was. So I panned out to see what the eyebrows looked, and I'm pretty pleased with how they turned out. They look more realistic than just the lines. Now I'm going to start focusing on the chin. The lines were kind of messed up and it was covered by that gray on her face. So as you can tell, if you notice, your face doesn't really have a line, so I just left it like that so I can work on that later. But I wanted to work on the shadow of her chin. As you can see, I used the eraser, and then I ended up using an airbrush and going from a dark gray and adding some light gray underneath. And this is just to give you a view of what I'm using for my color wheel, just to keep you in the loop of what I'm using. This is the gray, as you see my bars over there on the bottom with the B, it's at 62, and then H and the S are completely out of the picture. So it's just black and white that I'm using. Now I'm adding some darkness to the bottom of her chin still. And then also I started working on her mouth, giving it some curve. It's kind of dark, so I kind of left it there at the moment and started zooming in on the nose. The nose needs more of a dimension, and it didn't have any lines, so the airbrush is actually super helpful for this. Not the paintbrush or the pencil, because they have really harsh lines and it's a lot harder to work with. So I'm still working on the nose, adding some details here and there, trying to get rid of that one line that you see on the right side. So I actually ended up erasing it and adding an airbrush and having more of a blend to the nose instead of her line that I had before. So now I'm pretty much done with the nose and I'm moving down back to the neck. I erased that black line, or airbrushed actually that black line with a white. And I'm zooming into the cheek to have it blend more. And I'm kind of working on the chin and the cheek all at the same time. What I started using was the airbrush as well as a paintbrush. And the lines are really thick and not really realistic. They just blended all together. So I try to make the airbrush smaller, and I took a darker color as well because I didn't want her hair to be white. And then I took a pencil in, as you can see with the dark lines. And I added some white lines as well with a pencil. And I really started looking at the texture and still not sure if I like how thick her hair was. So I took a lighter gray color with the pencil, added more lines here and there, and then I really liked how the pencil was turning out, but not really how thick it was. So I had it set to the smallest setting and just dragged it here and there, and I was like, whoa, more realistic. So I just kept adding all that white, and this is what it looks like with the thin white lines. And as you can tell, there's already more realistic aspects to it because of how tiny our hair is. So then I took that thinness and I actually had it to a dark gray, and then I set it to dark black. So then I incorporated her black hair and kind of wanted to bring it out all throughout her hair, creating a more realistic. And I zoomed into her eyebrow, eyelash, and the hair just to make sure I had the colors spread out evenly so it wouldn't be kind of a drastic change. So I panned out again, and then I started adding more little lines here and there into her hair. And I'm really liking the shape that it's taking and going with the movement and flow of her hair. So I'm really happy that I used the airbrush and the paintbrush in the beginning just to give it that volume and texture between white, gray, and black. So I don't mind doing that, but I really like the after effects of the tiniest setting of the pencil. And so I'm still going here and there, adding stuff, and so I'm working on the chin and adding darkness, giving her more of a 3D look, and this is pretty much how it ended up turning out. I really don't mind how it turned out. It's not my favorite, and I did not go off of a picture, so this was all from my head, and I hope you like the results of this one. Overall, I did not mind SketchBook Mobile X app. It would be better if I had a larger screen to work off of though, but in my case, this was just a simple tutorial for my blog of how to use this app and the different technique that it offers. I would probably have gotten Inspire Pro if I liked drawing digitally and spending that $4.99 just because of how many options it has and because I like a realistic approach to art. So the three basic drawing materials that were on this app did not really fit to the true way that they are used in life, but I did like the airbrush to blend with. So that was a good compromise because they didn't have a blending brush or stub that you use in real life. So that helped me create more of that realistic view that I like. If you have any questions or comments, just post below or check out my blog, Coop's Corner. I will also post a link underneath this video if you need any more details or questions you might have. This was just a fun thing to see why other people like this digital aspect of art. I think I appreciate it more, and especially how much time it does take to do digital art as well. I thought it was going to be pretty easy. Turns out it's not easy at all. But it does have its advantages as the undo buttons, the double tap in the corner to completely erase your images, the color options that you can easily get access to. But the cons probably were I did not like working on a small screen, but that's partly my fault. I didn't like how the pencil and the paintbrush were portrayed as. It's not really what they look like. The paintbrush was more of a watercolored look, and the pencil, the thickness really it was too dark for what a pencil looks like. That I think the smaller size was kind of what the pencil looked like. I would probably still keep this app on my iPod just because it's fun to doodle with, and if I don't have my sketchbook or pencils with me, I have my iPod. I really hope you enjoy this tutorial and comment or like below of what you think of this.